California. La persona. And Facebook.
Yeah, and this is why I'm trying to figure it out. I'm doing trying to do YouTube also.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't like to do bathrooms and everybody's asking for bathrooms. It's just annoying.
I think so. Here's the thing. All right, move over a little bit. This way, I'm gonna have to go around again. Perfect, because we're gonna end up being like this.
Did you use a microphone or just a
Microphone and
headphones?
headphones.
Like a roster. I feel like in a studio. Yes.
Spilled my tea already. Guess you can get it for your coffee. Oh, goodness, okay. All right, let me see. This is looking.
You made your own little thing here. I love it. I love the chefs with it. Look awesome. Oh, that's the ones that you put in your office.
All right, can you move this way a little bit?
Right here.
That's good. Here on the microphone,
Headphones.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello, hello.
All right. We are live. I also think we are live on YouTube, but somebody's going to have to tell me because I don't know. It took a few minutes to get set up. Me and Oscar were talking here, and I'm excited about this one. We are here in the studio in Wyckoff. I'm with a 20-year-old, I don't know, how long we know each other? 20 years?
20 at least.
20-year-old friend. We worked together for years. We have a lot of history, a lot of experiences, and I'm happy to call Oscar my friend. We've maintained a relationship for this long. And Oscar's an immigrant. He's a hardworking guy. He's got a heart of gold. He believes in God. He believes in family. And I think we're going to get into his story about coming to America and reaching the dream here. This is something that I think is going to be really cool. If you have any questions or you have any comments, put them in Facebook, put them in YouTube, although I don't see the chat, but whatever. We're going to have enough to talk about anyway. But thank you for coming, Oscar. And
pleasure.
I'm excited about this one because it's such a topic now in America, what's going on with immigration. And you've been here for so long that I want to see and hear your perspective on things.
Absolutely. It's thank you so much for inviting me. It's I feel like I'm home.
Well, we were talking for the last 15 minutes, and I was like, wait, we got to be live, man, because we were just talking like, two friends discussing some experiences, and the perspective I think that you're going to hear now is pretty exciting and pretty, it puts a different spin on what me personally as American, I'm surrounded by people, and we think differently about immigrants. So I'd like to start like when you were in Mexico, when you were younger, and you decided to come to America. Like, what is that like as a child? What do you hear in Mexico about America? And why choose to risk your life to cross and kind of roll the dice for a better life?
Yes. So I grew up in Mexico City, and I think I live a childhood more better than a lot of Mexicans that live in another states. And I'll be honest with you, when I was younger, I never really dreamed to come to America. Like you dream maybe like Disney and things like that, but I never really was my goal. I started working, and I remember I went to the army. I served the army from in Secret Service of Mexico, and I worked from 1998 to 2000. And the thing is that I married in my last year, and everything changed because as being a single person, your expenses are not that much. But when you come to have a family, then everything changes. And the opportunity came like any person in any country, you want to have a better life for your family. And I realized that in Mexico, even being in a great job like that, it wasn't enough.
The army job,
The
being in the
army
military.
job, and it wasn't just enough to build up. And so I think every immigrant comes with the same concept. Let's go for 2, 3 years, save money, come back, build a house, or maybe start a business, and that. But what I hear is, I think you hear. I was putting an example to you before we start this. It's like like a picture when you see the picture of somebody in the Bahamas. It looks great. Like you look it up and you say, this guy does very well. He's in the Bahamas. But sometimes we don't know that this person has like $20,000 in debt to go to that trip, and it's going to spend maybe 2, 3 years to pay that money. And I think a lot of people goes there, come back there from America with a miscommunication. Like, oh, I was making $20,000 an hour. Maybe it is true. But what you don't know is that guy has been 20 years in the country.
Right.
So he start maybe from $6, 7, 8, to get to 20. Or for example, maybe they lie. Like I always make a joke, nobody told me they had to pay rent. It is true because when you're in Mexico, it's very common that you live like any American young kid here. You live with your family, you never pay rent. But and somehow God bring me to Bergen County, and it's super expensive. And you remember those years when we worked together, and I had to work 2, 3 jobs just to barely pay my rent and feed my family.
How did you end up in Bergen County?
I think it depends about how you came here. Like the people they bring me here was for my wife's family. So they live in Westwood. So they bring me to Westwood. And I think as an immigrant, you always are free to move to another state because you don't want to start again. At this point, maybe I will do it, but now I basically grow roots in Bergen County, and I love Bergen County.
You have kids now in Bergen
My
County.
kids in Bergen County. My kids are 2 of my kids are in high school, and like any teenager when I finish high school, and I also, the price to come in here and live all your family and friends, and you kind of don't want to make that to your kids. Like you already did it, so you want to your kids grow roots and have a friends for life. So you understand, okay, I came to Bergen County. I move on to I think everybody, even Americans, like when kids finish school, they will move to Florida, Texas, or Carolina. So the question was how was the idea to come in here? I think it just was the idea based on miscommunication information about the you thinking the money is in the trees, that you just come in and work. And I remember my first salary by hour was like a $6.50 an hour. And you remember that I worked with you, and I had to work with you. I had to go to work at Wendy's from 7 in the morning to like 3, and then go to the restaurant
till midnight or 11 p.m.
Exactly, and then the next day again,
and again for years.
Yes, and if you know Bergen County, I was living in Emerson, and get my bicycle all the way to Kinderkamar. Then when you get to Hisdale, and there's the hill to get to the restaurant, and it doesn't matter if it's winter, summer, and things like that. Nobody mentioned to you, like you never think about that because another thing in Mexico is one of those countries there's a lot of public transportation. Like you go out and you don't have to wait. It's like actually it's the opposite. Like the public transportation fight for you. Like they fight in between like who gets you. And right here you have to wait it hours.
Yeah, and
The
it's late.
bus.
It makes you late for
Yes.
work.
Yes, and it's a lot of those things. It's the miscommunication that people don't talk about over there. And
The realities of actually when you arrive here, what's going to
absolutely,
happen. Yeah.
absolutely.
When you came to America, you crossed the border, and we all hear about it in the news, right? What's going on at the border and what the conditions are like, but no one talks about with somebody that actually did it. So, can you talk about that for a minute or two? Like, is it as horrible as people say? Is it as dangerous as people say?
Yeah, it is terrible because at least I'm gonna speak from my experience. So people told me you're gonna cross, you're gonna pay this much, and you're gonna cross.
How much did you pay?
I be honest, I don't remember, like $2,000 20 years ago, and I was a lot. It take me like a whole year to pay that. And I'm Mexican. If you're from a little far, like from Central America or South America, those guys pay like 5 times more.
Well, you said before. Now it's probably 25,000 to
Yes,
cross.
now it's like I hear somebody mention the other day they have a 25,000 for a Mexican. So it's a lot of somebody's making money.
Of course, yeah.
So when we cross, like first misinformation or the first light that they told you is like in 4 hours you will be the other side. First of all, right on the border, the coyotes sell us to another coyote.
Holy shit! Put that closer.
Right in the middle of the desert. And I remember seeing they separate us. Women's this side, men's this side. And take off your shoes. You see guys with nice jackets, take off your shoes, take off your jacket, they take it off of you. They pull all your money, take everything. And somebody mentioned a little bit something like that. So I hide some money, and I think they didn't find it. And so they basically take everything from you.
So they take that. They take it all from you before you cross.
Yes.
And they keep it.
Yes. And the women's, I think I didn't see it with my eyes, but I think they was raped because there was 2 or 3 women's. They take it.
Yeah.
It's not very hard to understand what happened, and we never see them again.
Oh my God! They probably eventually came across, or they become trafficked or whatever that is.
No, I don't know the answer. But then, like I told you, I mentioned before, people say they say us 4 hours to cross. Let me tell you something. That was 3 days. And like
Sleep?
like
Get
I
to sleep?
mentioned before, I was in the army, so I feel grateful because the army prepared me to like live in conditions like that and dealing with things like that. And I remember they give us gallons of water, and I was a strong boy in that time. Even if I was very skinny, I was a strong boy. And I have a backpack with me, and I put 2 bottles there, and 2 bottles, one in each hand, gallons. And like I mentioned, we walked 3 days. During the daytime, they hide you and you sleep. And people get tired. We was a group like 30 people, and people start throwing out the water because it's weight that you had to carry.
Oh man!
And what I did, I pick it
take
up.
it.
So at one point I have like bunch of bottles there and a couple in my hands. And like I told you, in the army, so you had to carry your rifle and all you thing is like around 20 pounds. So I was like, I was strong to do that. So I keep it. I remember the last day, I was the only one with 2 gallons of water. And I remember this person told me, give us some water. I promise you, we done 5 minutes and they're going to pick us. And I'm like, I feel bad because I don't want somebody to die. So I share my water. It was true. They pick up us, like, it was true. But my point was like, people was tired. Like people, they don't.
They were giving up their water
Absolutely.
just to walk, to have the energy to walk.
Yes. And I remember, how you call, I'm sorry because my English is still like a little broken.
No, it's not.
When you go to a hospital and they put you that thing in
IV.
IV. So in Mexico, they sell powder. So like the army teach you things. So I bought those powder things. So in my waters, I put that stuff on it. So I knew that I going to be conditions, maybe strength conditions. So I put the stuff to able to survive. And but the reality is that I hear stories that people they cross in 2 hours and that's it. for me, it was a really bad experience. That's why I never want to do it again.
Did everybody you cross with live?
Yes. Yes.
Did you see bodies? Did you see?
No. No, because you walk in the middle of the night.
You wouldn't see it if they were
Don't
there.
see it, yeah. And it just,
How do you get across the actual like border? Like you're in a car, or they smuggle you, like, or is
can
it?
I be honest with you? You don't never know when you cross the border. Because since you start from Mexico, you're in the middle of the mountain. And when you get there, they pick you up in a road after 3 days. So you just see a desert. See, they told you at one point, we already in. But the reality is like, you don't know.
You don't even know.
You don't even know. I'll be honest with you, if I can say this, I know that doesn't justify for some people. You don't even understand exactly what you're doing. Thinking about it, I was a 21 years old boy. You don't even know what you're doing. See, if at my age, somebody told me cross the border, I will not do it. I'll be honest, and just like, I think it's the desperate, like the need, and you just like understanding that age in your country, you're not able to have a better life for your family, at least at that point. And you're just trying to do like any father, something you trying, you basically put your life for your family.
Yeah. So what do you think about what's going on now at the border?
I think it's ridiculous, I'll be honest. I don't want to have the mentality because a lot of people, when I give my opinion like that, even in my own community, then say, okay, you say that because now you're there for 20 years. But I think I want to bring this point. Like back in the day was two ways to do it, the right way and the wrong way. Okay, the right way, forget about it. Like I'm talking about putting an application and follow the way that the U.S. government create to you come legally. Okay, but forget about that one. Then was another way, the way that I cross. Like people pay, you struggle for years to pay, you have to do. What we see in it right now is somebody that doesn't even pay, just to start. Just came to the border in multitudes and demand, I want to be there. And I think it's a really bad situation that we're gonna start in our nation. Like we can see in New York City. I went to New York the other day, and I find this immigrant trying to sell me bottles of water on the window. And I'm like, never see this before. I mean, I don't go very often to New York City, but in a funny thing, talking with my sister-in-law, which she works for a local government, she mentioned that those things start happening, even in Mexico City.
And that's from the South and Central American people they have to pass through.
Because they get stuck there too. Because they maybe run out of the resources to get all the way to, I mean, it's a very far path to get from let's say, Guatemala all the way to the USA. So the situation is bad because what I'm trying to say is like even the wrong way is being broken. And I mentioned to you before, I think I'm not going to blame in that kind of mentality to the politicians. But the reality is the only people that can fix the situation is the politicians. And it's like when you're on a car, if your car start making a little noise, if you don't take it to the mechanic, eventually that car is not going to move. And I think the system is being broken for so long and we don't fix it. See, if you have a car, how often you change the oil?
Yeah, you got to every 4,000 miles, whatever it is. Yeah.
Exactly. So we have an immigration reform about 20-something years ago, the last one. I don't remember exactly the year. I remember it was a Republican president, which is kind of interesting. But what I try to say, if you have a car and if you do the oil change every 5 years, you're not going to go that far with a car. So I think our government is being ignored in this situation, and it's just getting worse. The reality is nobody else. I cannot fix it. You cannot fix it. The people in the border cannot fix it. Like being fighting between, let's say, I'm a Republican and you're a Democrat. If you and me, we fighting for this, we don't fix it, the situation. The only people can fix it.
It's almost more beneficial broken for the politicians.
It sounds sometimes like it.
It's terrible, but that's what it seems like.
It feels like it because something interesting I heard the other day from China. And you maybe hear in China is like the finances for China is growing like crazy. But they feel that eventually it's not going to grow because eventually the employers from China, which they have a cheap labor right now, eventually they're going to get raised. Eventually they're going to demand better because they're Chinese citizens. See, sometimes it makes me think that this system prefer to have us like this because they want to have a cheap labor always.
That's a valid point, I think, because if you take into account, like I know you've been here for 20 years and you have a lawyer and you have a business and you have a tax ID number and you pay taxes and you own a business, New Face Construction, if anybody needs anything around the house, but like you're stuck, unable to complete your green card or your, I'm not sure what the term is, right? Your actual citizenship. You're kind of, even with effort and money and payments, you can't accomplish that. You can, but there's tricks and there's waiting and there's patience, but you've been trying for years to do this and you have not been able to do it and you've hit block after block after block, but yet you continue to act like an American citizen. You pay your taxes, you pay your rent, you do all the things you're supposed to do, and you can't get to the finish line.
Yeah, one of the reasons because I accept to do this is because I think in the Anglo-Saxon or American society, there's a lot of miscommunication, information. And I think a lot of Americans think the immigrants just take the benefit
Oh yeah, a lot of people think that.
of the America. And I think it's the opposite. I think we bring more to the table than what we take. Like, for example, like any benefits, for example, like food stamps. The only people can receive those things is Americans. If people doesn't know, if you don't have a social security, you don't get it. But also, I don't want to sound like a complainer because also America, I love America. I really love America. I get in love from this country my first year because I see a path to get a better life right away. But I know they had to work hard. But I know and I see because I also not trying to do this, but I think I'm a little smart boy, and I try always the years to find ways. See, that's just the beautiful of the America. Even if you in my situation, if you do the right thing, there's ways to do it. It's just hard because not everybody has the motivation to just go and go here and knock doors and knock windows maybe and get to where you get. See, what you're saying before, yes, it is being hard for me. For example, if you open a business in America, and I hear a lot of people, oh, you know what, I'm going to put $100,000 and I'm going to start my business, which I'm going to put this much in the savings, I'm going to put this much for the truck and this and that. I start from zero. See, I start looking out for jobs. I start working as a 1099 and I start building up in the middle, like what my business was generating was for my expenses and also for my business.
Yeah.
So I start like little by little by little by little. And at the point that my accountant is like, you're paying too much taxes, I think you're ready to jump to the point
To be a company.
to be a company. And I was afraid. But the reality is the life of immigrant is like that. I think that's why a lot of immigrants like me, they never take that step. Because it's always the fear. I think the fear the other people put you. Oh no, but you're gonna get deported. Oh no, you're gonna be the, I think, you know what? If they're gonna deport you, I mean, what you can do? But at least you're trying to do. But now, like a long time ago, I understood this. Maybe I did something wrong to come in like that. I want to excuse myself. Maybe I was a little ignorant when I came. But now being here, I'm trying to do every single thing. Like, I hear Americans say, like, oh, you guys gonna come in and change this country. Like, you want the men to be speaking more Spanish to do this. No, I did it. I did like an American mentality. I want to come and get to this society, how it runs the society. So I remember you, like when I worked with you, you told me one work a day you had to learn. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like, we know when we can even communicate.
You couldn't speak
I
English.
can speak English. And you told me one day, every day, one word every day. And I remember after a couple of years, I was amazed by myself because I don't even realize at what
I
point
told
I
you all the
learned.
bad words right away.
Yes. I got co-workers that send me to say funny things to each other, and I didn't no idea. But you know what's funny? I learned in that process. I always like, not because you hear, but I always tell people like, Chris is like my teacher in English. So if my English is bad, go blame that guy.
Yeah. My English isn't that good either yet, man.
Go
Believe
blame
me.
him. But I think yes, it is definitely harder. But the beauty of America is still possible. For somebody, I consider myself somebody with hungry. I think even if one day I came to be rich, I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
I want to always have a goal after another goal.
So you're in America now 20 years, and you were in Mexico for 20 years, essentially, right? In Mexico, are people hungrier as they get older? Because I feel like in America, some people aren't as hungry anymore. And I think as time goes on here and generations go on, like we expect more from America, and maybe we don't give as much back as possible. I'm trying to say it delicately, but like I think there's some people that don't want to work as hard as their previous generation.
And you're absolutely right. I think this country, we was talking about this before, I think America is built of people like me. See, a lot of people concentrating like, I hear a comment, oh, when my grandfather came, like, it came with the Italians came and we can, yes, let me
That's my
remind you,
story.
like you don't even put in application. You came in a boat and receive you right there, they stamp you, give a number, and you was an American. See, that doesn't make it right or wrong. That's just the way that happens for your grandfather. For me, it was different. But what I'm trying to say is, for your grandfather, it never changed the same thing for me. People with hungry. See, in Mexico, your question was in Mexico. Yes, I think it's still, yes, because they never reach their goals. Because the system is so hard for you to like, for example, just to buy a house or to make your business. So my father, 66 years old, and he lived from a pension from the government or for whatever we can send to him. He never was able to have a retirement for like a company. It's just like he don't even finish elementary school. So
Just work.
just work. So how far you can go when your body gets old?
What did he do?
He had a business doing fiberglass. He did anything with fiberglass, like auto parts, like anything that has to be with that fiberglass.
Hard work, though.
Hard work. I started working with him since I was like 10 years old. And officially, like I never mentioned this, officially I started working. He told me one day, I'm 12 years old, son, I cannot afford you anymore. So having a business, you're going to work for me, you're going to receive a salary like anybody else. So I had to go work, had to go to school, come back from school, and work. And even after that, I have a chance to go to play basketball on the street with friends.
You made the time.
He made the time.
Well, yeah, you made the time, but you had no option. If
No
you wanted to play basketball, it was after work.
Exactly, but it makes you disciplined. And I think I want to come back to what we was talking about. So I think in America, yes, I think when you are, I can see even a little bit with my kids, like when you are first, second, third generation, that gets lost. And I put an example for you before, like when my kids are like complaining for something that I think is dumb, because the reality is complaining for something dumb. I'm like, you know what? Go clean the basement. And I want you to get spotless. I got instruments there, like a drum set and guitars. You clean every guitar, every drum set.
Your basement's clean, man.
Yeah, and you clean everything. And they come back and they're like, I'm tired. Oh, now you have a reason to complain. See, before, the thing is, I think the Americans sometimes are like that. Like they have such a good life, and they don't really have it that much bigger problems. And they try, I think it's nature of human beings to try to complain. And you find a complaints with like something that you don't even understand. For example, oh, this immigrant receives everything. I'm tired, I'm working. That's not true. but you start like finding and look it up. I mentioned to you before, I think if you worry about politicians, about how the direction of the country, I think if you worry about or disappointed or met with the system, how it goes, let me tell you something, it's out of control. It's out of our hands. We can do much about it. But what we can do is come back to our principles. The principles of the I believe is for an American, which is what? Get up every morning early. I don't care. I'm not going to define hard work because I don't want to say the construction is hard work comparing with, for example, an office job. No, both are hard.
It's all hard work.
It's
Yeah.
all
Just
hard work.
you're working.
You're working. So get up early and go to work.
Be grateful.
And be grateful. And I told you something, but also it's not just in America or in any kind of country. You never can mix oil with water. When I try to say with us, if you have an addiction, that's not going to help. If you're going to have spending money and things that you don't need it, it's not going to help. But if you discipline and you work, I think in the Bible is, we say the law of the farmer. The farmer goes and throws a seed and waits very long time and takes care of the dirt and do this thing, and eventually he got his reward. The plant grows and gives you fruit. And I think it's the same thing. And see, in Mexico, in another countries, maybe in Mexico, the situation now is better, but in general, out in America, you can work very hard and you never go anywhere because the system and everything is broken. But in America, no. I think in America, if we want to change really the direction of our country, starting blaming in Republicans or in Democrats or in the government or in the immigrants or in this, let's come back to our principle. Let's remember the history of your grandfather or your grandmother or your father. Let's do what they did or what I'm doing. Get up early and trying to change the direction of the next generation that we have around front. And teach our next generation that they don't lose the same values.
So that's like we call that like you're setting the example and you're creating a legacy. It's beyond saving money and giving it to your kids. It's the message and the model of being that citizen and saying like, this is what life is about. The work is the gift, actually. Like get up and do the work and the harvest shows up.
Yeah. See, and it's very easy to get lost in that because like sometimes we complain, like I see fathers, like I'm 40, we are around 40s. And we
45, man. I'm not near 40
I'm
anymore.
43, so we are right there. And so we have a teenagers, no? And sometimes we complain, my son or my daughter doesn't do anything. You build that up. You create your kid like that. So I think we have to remember that and try and like, I always tell people father for me as an immigrant that was raised with different values and trying to make the balance of people from this society and trying the middle to don't be lost, but also you don't want them to be like Mexicans and trying to make the balance. How you do that? I give you my experience. My daughter go to college, but she works. She pays her own college. She's paying her own car. And she has time to have fun. Daddy can pay for the car, absolutely. But I'm not going to do that because don't have her. She needs to learn the value of that.
Well, yes, she learned the value of it, right? Mm-hmm. And she works hard and she earns her way and she's a good student.
And she's an American citizen.
Right.
Yes.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I see stuff in my life, right? Like I have 3 daughters and that balance is hard as a parent. And when I hear somebody like you who has a different background than me say it, like my kids are growing up in a nicer condition than I grew up in. Thank God. That's that's the way everybody wants it. And sometimes I'm like, all right, how do I keep those same values, right? Like I think they have it easier. They don't think so, right? But like I think they had it easier than I did. I was working in high school and things like that. My oldest is a great student. And that balance of saying, no, you have to work more, you have to work harder, is tough sometimes, right? To set that example. They don't like it, but they have to clean the house. They have to clean their room. They have to exercise. We try to get them to eat well and things like that. But I know deep down, sometimes I'm proud that, okay, they don't have to do that. I had to do that. So it's better. But I'm not really doing them the favor and setting the example of what real life is then. Because with real life, you have to work hard. No matter what your job is, like you said, it doesn't matter what it is. Get up and do it. And my grandfather, who was an immigrant, said all the same stuff, like you go to work every day. That's it. Work hard, work as many hours as you can, as many hours as you have to, and everything else kind of falls into place. That changes, right?
It changes, but also it is very hard to do it. It doesn't matter if you're an immigrant or born here or wherever you are in this planet. Because I think every father has the responsibility to your next generation that's better than you. So it's the nature of a father it doesn't matter how was your past or your childhood, you want them to be better.
Right.
And automatically, if we follow the points that we're talking about this conversation, work hard. So as a matter of fact, so your kids is going to have a better life. So it's funny because you build them to your kids live better and don't struggle as you did. But also you want to teach them the discipline. See, my daughter last semester or a couple semesters before, she was crying and she's like, Daddy, I don't know how to pay my semester. I say, what happened, honey? I don't have enough to pay you. And I say, no, because I allow you or I make you pay your salary. I'm sorry, you college. That means that you buy yourself. See, Daddy is always going to be right on your back for anything that you need. See, this is just one example, is to be always there for them, not give everything to them. See, nobody learns anything if you just give it to them. But it's nothing wrong also, like if like one day we was working in a house and one of my guys is like, look at that kid. It's like in the middle of the pool. Like, I say, what's wrong with that? I say, you're working right now, so your kids have that life too. See, also, it's nothing wrong to enjoy the fruit of your hard work. But also, I think we can find, because it's got to be different for every father, depends about the situation. But we always going to have ways to teach our kids and make the balance that you're trying to do.
So let me ask you this, like you see in the news, and I don't know how true this is. It seems true, but I don't know. You see immigrants that come here now, 10,000 a day, 15,000 a day, whatever it is. America actually pays for hotel, for cell phones, for school, for some states offer health benefits, where you have a business, you pay your health benefits, you pay your phone. Is it the right message to send when we do things like that? And I'm not talking politically, I'm talking in, humanity. They get here, they're taken care of. Does that create a mentality of like, oh, I'm in America now, I'm going to have everything?
Yes. I mean, first of all, I think it's some information in there. Like, they allow them to come in. I'm not 100% sure if they get, for example, to pay for hotels and that. And I'm not have the information, but I don't think that they get paid for like forever.
I don't think it's forever.
Like I hear in the news, for example, like shelters give them like 60 days, 30 days. I think it's unfair, maybe, because I look at that from my viewpoint, like my experience. But in the same time, there's part of me that says, okay, anybody needs that help and that little push. The problem comes to be like an unemployment problem. I'm gonna bring that like an unemployment, like when like I have friends and no names, obviously, but they find themselves being in unemployment is better than be working, because they renew the unemployment all the time. And before they have a job.
That's called retired.
Exactly. And they have it. So I think help is good. And the help is for somebody that needs it. The problem is when people take the benefit of that. I think like if you need it or if you just cross, it's got to be a limit. Like I always say, like, why they don't, for example, like, I have a lot of opinion about those things. Like, why, for example, if you're an immigrant and you come in, even the way that they do it, I'm not agree, but the way they do it. You know what? We're going to give you $10,000 to you start. I think you pay, you find a job. It's good for like 3 months until you get a job. But then you have to pay back.
I think it's a good idea.
But you have to pay back because I don't think nothing is free in life. See, that will change everything because everybody will receive things, and it's also, and you can even demand. But when you know that you have to pay,
You treat it differently.
exactly. Like, for example, when people like call you, like, those companies say, oh, you qualify and we're going to give you like 100,000. Oh, I play with those guys and I say, oh, great. I love it. Yeah. And yeah, can you give us your name? And I go, but I have to pay you back. Yeah. Oh, so I don't want it.
Right.
I make a joke, but it has some kind of like true, like people like love the idea the way that it is because everything is free. And I think that's when it comes to be unfair. And that's what I tried to bring, the point I tried to bring in the beginning, that even the wrong way is being broken. Because I don't know how this happened. We hear people that talks in the news, maybe some kind of Democrat people is talking about them. They come and they told them lies. They come in and they're going to give you citizenship and you're going to come in and this. But then you hear stories from people that this is not what they promised me. First of all, who promised you? If it wasn't the government for the USA, how would you believe it? But regardless about that, first of all, I want to be clear. I'm not agree with the way this happening. But in the same time, if I relate with that people, when I came, I was ignorant about so many things. And I think that's the same. And that's, and they side, I think it's the same problem. They come in with lies and misinformation, and they find themselves in a very tough situation. Because
It's not what you thought when you arrive here. It's not all good. There's
another,
pressures and stresses and
another characteristic that we have in a way, in the old way, it was that somebody was helping you to come in and kind of like support you in that process. And I think a lot of people now, though, the people that we see right now on the border, they come in without knowing nobody. And I believe that a lot of that people eventually they're gonna go back because
it's hard alone.
it is hard, especially right now in winter. Like in summer, obviously, it's more work. There's a lot of more stuff to do. I have a friends that they call me and I hear that you open a business. Do you have a word for this person? No, I don't have a word.
I remember I was talking to one guy, you know him. He said he came to America, and the next day, it snowed like 6 inches. He had no money. He was staying with family on the floor, on the couch, and he never saw snow before. And he said, I gotta go home, man. This is not for me. What is this? I don't understand this. I've never seen this. Like, and that little bit of what's normal here, right? It snows, the roads get plowed, you go to work eventually, schools get closed, but whatever. Like, he had no idea what snow was. He had no idea it was 20 degrees outside. Like, that's a shock when you grow up in Mexico or anywhere. That's warm.
Yeah, I mean, in Mexico, everybody dreams to see a snow day.
Till they see it.
Until you had to clean.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have a little story that happened to me when I just came to America. I mean, in the last few years, we don't see big storms. But I remember one like in the early 2000, like around 2003, 2004, something like that. The snow came like a little bit on top of my knees. And you don't know how to act.
Right.
First of all, I don't have a car. So you see the news, you understand. You cannot pay cable, so you live very limited. So anyway, the story is that I wasn't prepared for the snowstorm. So in the middle of the storm, I'm hungry. And I'm like walking in the middle of the stream by Emerson, riding over Kinder Camar. And it took me hours just because every step was a challenge. In the middle of the road, the cops pull out and like, what are you doing here? And I barely can understand it, and I don't even know how we communicate. And I'm like, I'm looking for a place to eat. And he's like, you don't know this is going to start? No. See, and that's why I love America, because if it wasn't Mexico, it was a different story. But what this cop did to me was amazing. He's like, get in the car. He put me in the car, take me to a Chinese place, wait for me to get the meal, and they drive me to my house.
That's incredible.
And, and that's just those little things that make me understand the difference between countries. Like, another thing that I always say as a joke, when I came here, I was a very aggressive boy. You remember me?
Yeah.
I was known to be a little aggressive, but if I can express it now, it was a frustration in me they can understand. So I always feel like people was talking about me.
Yeah.
I feel like people was making jokes about me, and I feel abused. So in my
You're
frustration,
gonna
I
fight.
act aggressive. But something interesting, I look it up in that moment, in those days, is like for example, in those days, if somebody does something to me, I was met with that person for like 5 days. And when I find people like you, that you was my whole world, actually was my boss, and you guys forget everything so easy. 5 minutes and you already forgive everything. And that start pulling my attention. I said, why they so different?
Really?
I said, why if I believe in God and God is all about forgiveness, I can't act like him. And I start looking up, and little by little over the years, I always say to people, I'm not trying to talk about God or trying to evangelic somebody here, but I'm a church person.
Yeah.
So
You can't call this guy on a Sunday.
yeah, so I remember when I worked for Barry, remember Wilkes-Lee? It's not a commercial, but I work for that person. And this guy is a coin collector. And he started teaching me about the coins, and the coins show you the history of the USA and everything. And then I remember one day, finally pulled my attention, why are they'll say, "In God we trust"? And I started searching why, when that happened. And I find out that the first coin was a 2 cents coin in I forgot the year, 1846 or something like that. Anyway, and I find something so interesting. See, what the founders of this country did, it was amazing.
Yeah.
They put their trust in God.
They were immigrants.
Immigrants, and they understood our resources of finances is not hard work, it's our faith. So I see that this guy put that. And I always say to that, I knew about God when I came here, but one of the funny things I find out when I came here, I can look out for money, but what I find was God. And like I mentioned to you before, it's like the law of the farmer. When you do everything, you see the fruit. And I had the opportunity, like people ask me, like even like Hispanic people, more the Americans, but Hispanic people ask me, they see this. I'm not rich, but I do very well. And people ask me, how you did it? And I say, to me, it's like a go to work. We all had to do it. So I don't think that's something special they did. But what I can say is, I go to church every Sunday. Do you remember when I started working for you? I said I cannot work Sundays.
Yeah.
And
I was pissed.
And yes, not just you, the rest of the world.
Yes.
and that happened in many jobs where I put my application. They like, I'm not taking you. You decide to work Sundays, come back. And I feel like when you believe in something, you gotta stick to your belief. So I say, God, you told me I had to have a Sabbath and I had to have a day for you, and I gotta respect that. And I take that very seriously. And I'll be honest, like I'm a human being. Sometimes I don't want to go to church, but for me, it's like it's
You
a
go.
discipline. I had to go.
It's not about your feelings.
Yes, it's not because I'm perfect. Like people, I
No, it's
think
because you're not perfect.
that's it. See, a lot of people think like people they go to church just because they perfect. No. It's for example, you don't take your car to the mechanic because there's nothing wrong. You take your car to the mechanic with something that's wrong. And I think it's like somebody that believes in God is like that. Like you understand your imperfection. That's why you go into the person that can fix it or can actually make you feel better. So over the years, looking up those things, I always feel like it came to me the question one day, because I really, as a Christian, I'm doing the right thing. See, because when I came, I had the excuse that I came because I didn't know that I did something wrong. So I asked so many pastors the same question. I feel like sometimes I'm doing something wrong. And he goes, if this makes you feel better, in the USA we send a lot of people to preach the gospel. Like, for example, in in Muslim countries, like that we're not allowed to do that. So we lie to do it. So I said, what's the point? See, the point is this: it's all about the will of God. If God wants it here, He will open doors to you to show you that He wants you here. If God doesn't want you here, He will show you signs. So you go back. So I learned to see that in my life. If God wants me to be here, He will open doors for me to subsist even in my situation. And definitely He did it.
Yeah.
I mean, you see me, it wasn't easy. And even every day is a challenge as a business. And
Be careful what you wish for.
exactly. Yes, a lot of people think they open the business as like a better life. No, it's actually more.
Oh, it's hard.
It's a lot more work. And I think in America, it's a lot of business people, and it's not easy. It's a lot of competition, but also it's all about keeping the same principles that I told you before. Get up early, work. And you always will find work. So
What do you, and maybe other Mexicans in your community, this is a question. What do you guys think of Donald Trump?
oh my goodness. We don't like him, I'll be honest with you. See, I'm going to speak personally, but most of America and Mexicans or Hispanic people in my situation, we don't like him. I'm going to tell you my reason, not everybody else, obviously. My reason is this. You mentioned this when we're talking about kids, leadership, being example. See, being a leadership goes hand by hand to be an example. Somebody that's in the leadership has to understand the responsibility that what you're saying or everything that you do or say, it has consequences. And see, when Donald Trump came to be in politicians, I kind of like did the same thing they do with everybody. I give the benefit of like, and
Listen, let's see what he has to say.
exactly.
Yeah.
And also like he make a lot of mistakes. He always makes mistakes, and like he's a human being. So like
It's all right.
it's all right. He didn't mistake. I made mistakes, but the problem is that he never stops. That's just my thing, and I see like somebody. I hear one day one lawyer in the news that he quit to be his lawyer, and he said,
This was recently.
yes, the worst enemy of Donald Trump is his mouth.
Yeah.
So I think that's just why I don't like it, because I give up at the point that, like I can, it doesn't matter what I say, this guy keeping like, and also like, I'm not an ignorant person. So when there was when he was running for the president, I don't know if you remember the people asking, how are you going to fix this or how are you going to fix this? And he never have a specific answer.
Don't worry, I'll do it.
Yes, for example, like if I can relate it in my world, if somebody told me, okay, Oscar, we need to replace the door. How are you going to replace it? He will have answered something like this. I'm going to take that door and I'm going to put a beautiful door. I mean, everybody, that doesn't give you, that's basically the battle of everything. You have to replace the door. But if it's somebody that knows construction, say, okay, I'm going to take it off the moldings first, but I'm going to be careful so I don't damage the paint. And then I'm going to take moldings, and then I took it out the door and check it out the rough open and blah, 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 blah. And it gives you in a specific way how he's going to do it. So something that I observed with him, he never have an answer for any plan. See, every other candidate, it doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, it comes with pages and pages of plans of how they're going to do it. And what I see is a rich person that he is used to pay to people to do everything for him.
He was a builder. He contracted
Exactly.
everything, yeah.
So when he thinks of being a president, or maybe I think he did it like that. I mean, I'm not going to say he did like any other. I think all the presidents do good things. And as a human being, they fell in some areas too. And I think we have to recognize he did good things, but he also fell in other areas. But what I don't like about him is that he is not really the one, for example, God gives him, like, you have to do it like this and like this. His way to do is to be the boss, to have somebody to do it for him. And also, like, the way to insult and And for me, even as a Christian evangelic, it insults me the idea that he goes to a church, a holy hand, and he say the big boss is going to take care of us. And it's obviously that he's just doing to with evangelics because evangelics are big Republicans.
He's got a lot of the evangelical
Exactly,
votes, yeah.
which that's another funny thing that I have an opinion because I don't. Sometimes in my community, evangelics is like this: if you're evangelic, you have to be a Republican. Why? I don't understand that.
Usually it's because of abortion or something like that.
Like that too. And I understand that. But I think Trump it was really bad for the Republican Party because Trump, like we just mentioned, the Republicans was based on always to be in a Catholic way, and he came with a way to be that doesn't show any of that. And when the other ones support him, it's obviously this political thing. So what happens is I feel like a Trump is destroy a lot of the values of the Republican Party. See, I love the Republican Party, but I also love a lot of stuff from the Democrats. If you ask me, you agree with the abortion? Absolutely not.
I think most of the country is center like that.
Yeah, but also
They see values in both.
I also have an opinion it's not a liberal opinion, but if somebody is in that situation and decide to do it, I'm not the one that has to sacrifice that person because he did it.
How do you tell somebody else?
Exactly.
You
Because
can live that way. You can't mandate other people to do the same.
Because people is funny in that way, and I think it's a misinformation too about God. Because people think that if you have an abortion, it's like God never going to forgive you. See, the Bible never talks about different sizes of sin. For the Bible and for God, sin is sin. See, it's not like a small sin, big sin. What I'm trying to say, if you lie right now, for God, it's the same thing if you lie or if one girl has an abortion. For God, it's exactly the same thing. What it makes different in things is the consequences. See, if you lied, that maybe has consequences, but it's not going to be as big as somebody, for example, has an abortion. Not necessarily with the law, because maybe her consequences can be with her body, like maybe she never can have a kid, and that's a consequence, you know. And but I think people we are very easy sometimes to be the ones that to take the God's role to be the judge.
Right. We can't judge.
We can judge.
That's reserved for
exactly. So that is my opinion when it comes to political things like abortion. I say, okay, I will never do it. I will never push my wife to do it. I will never push my kids to do it. But I don't know the whole picture why people do it. And at the end of the day, I think God give you free will for that reason. Free will is like to take the decision to do the right or the wrong thing. And I don't think, I believe if God that's what he wanted from the beginning, he will don't create a Bible, he will create a constitution.
Right.
He created a Bible, not a constitution, to have the free will to listen to the right thing and take your own decision if you do it or not. I think the problem sometimes that we have with that is tending to mix two different things, religion and
laws
and political things, which is terrible things to mix.
So we're almost at an hour, but what's the solution to the immigration problem? And I'm going to tell you mine, right? and I want to see if you agree, right? I think somehow we have to slow it down from the numbers that's going now. It's out of control. I don't think it benefits any country to have the border like it is now. Mm-hmm. Mexico, South America, wherever people are coming from, we got to slow it down, and we have to make a system where it can be legal and fast. If you want to come from Mexico, it's a 6-month process. You do these papers, America checks. We give you your work visa, and you have some process when you're here if you want to get that permanent. Something that's faster and fair, and we kind of seal the border as best we can. You can't stop it, I don't think, ever, but it's too much right now. Does that work? Does that get received in Mexico and the South American countries that you think of is if there's a legal pathway that's fast, is it still easier to pay the I guess essentially the cartels or the coyotes $25,000 and just pass and get here?
No, and I think it's absolutely right how you say it. Just in my way to see it or to express it can be a little different. But for example, I always use as example Canada. Canada has a system that has visas for labor workers in every kind of aspect and any kind of branch of labor. And what they do, they give you a visa for a term. For it can be 6, 7 months, 8 months, but also it's mandate to you go out for like 3 months or 4 months, reapply and get back. And it works in a different ways. I hear stories that sometimes they like give you, for example, $10,000, but they pay all your expenses, and people is super happy to go back with the $10,000 in the pocket. And it can be by hour, it can be so many different ways. And at the end of the day, it's a contract. And I think it's a great way that they do it. Let me.
Because you can't even go home right now.
No, let me tell you something.
Your brother passed away. You couldn't go to the funeral.
No, my mom passed away 2 years and a half, and my brother died in March, and that means I never see them for 20 years. I see obviously over via FaceTime or stuff like that, but that was a terrible thing. That was a terrible feeling.
I can't imagine.
And it's something.
When my mom died, I was on vacation and got on a plane and came right home. I was home in
I
hours.
remember that.
Right, but I mean, I can't do that if I'm you.
I remember in the moment when I got the news that my mom died, my first thought is I'm flying back to Mexico. And the moment I start looking up at like my family, the expenses and everything, and I'm like, she's dead. Nothing is going to change if I go, and I have so much to put in rest.
And she probably would want you to stay anyway.
Exactly. And the price to be an immigrant is really hard. And if anybody that's watching has the same question that a lot of people, like I hear these answers or these questions, like, if you're really struggling, why you not go back to your country? Like I hear one day somebody told me, oh, look at that person driving this bicycle in the snow. Why they don't just go back? And I always answer this, thinking about it. Why? Just please thinking about it. What is that father? Why he is willing to live in those circumstances like that? The answer is very easy. Because even in those circumstances, we have a better life than Mexico or in other countries. And you know, it's funny. That's why I say I think I love America more even than a lot of more Americans. And I tell you why. Because I don't complain that much. You know, I understand and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this land, the people, and this government, for Americans like you. I live in a very, please nobody take offense, but in a very white community. And a lot of Mexicans hate to live in, and I love it. They're awesome people. They help me. They embrace my family. And I grow my kids. I raise my kids from kindergarten all the way to college. And it's just an amazing people. I help you out to the process and going to that. And
I was laughing because you say you raised your kids, and like I guess it was 2 months ago, our daughters played volleyball against each other.
Yes.
You know, 15 years ago, I would have never thought that was a thing. You know, it's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question was about changing. So when I go back to the idea about Canada. So one of the things I want to say very clearly and understand that most of us, we never come with the idea to stay in this country. Most of us comes with the idea that Canada understands. We come in to save money and go back to your country. But the problem is that you get stuck because life is so expensive in this country that nobody told you on that other side that you get stuck. And as a human being, I think we all can relate to this feeling. You don't want to come back and be a feller. And you want to stay and subsist. And like we always say in America, in this area, life goes super fast. And before you know, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in a life.
Yeah.
And I feel blessed, but I sadly can see a lot of people like there was a guy that worked for you and for you, and we was my co-worker, and I saw him working, and he's very old,
Yeah, he's stuck here.
and he's stuck here, and he's very old, and
He hasn't seen his children in probably 20 years.
more maybe, and he doesn't want to go back, and he looks like he struggled physically, and then you like, and I see, and I say, he never crossed the line. He always was there because he feel comfortable, and because that's how like you live the like for example when I say when mentioned about my father, he worked all his life, but he never thought that he's gonna get old. So when you're young, you never think the life is gonna get. I'm so grateful if I can mention his name if he sees this thing. Dan Conley, this guy works in finances. He's a great friend of mine. And one day I said, Dan, can you teach me how to like work with my finances? He goes to me, all right, brother. I said, I have some dead money. I own like close to $3,000 between PC and G, cable, and all these things. He sit down with me and he goes, listen, Oscar, I can give you this money and you will fix your problem, but you will never learn. So he goes, you had to show me all your finances, everything, how you spend your money, how much you make and everything. He teach me to make a budget. See, that's one of the things one of the problems that Mexicans we have or Hispanic people. They teach us very well how to work hard, but they never teach us how to manage your money.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to have somebody like Dan Conley. Even at this point when I need it, he has a business and I have my retirement plan and I invest money in the market and he has my life insurance and all these things, which if you thinking, you able to do that? Yes.
You're a gringo now, bro.
That is the beauty about America. That is what I was talking about. That's why I always feel grateful.
Well, you're gonna pay taxes for your whole life, and you're not eligible for Social Security, right?
If I never legalize myself,
Right.
never. But I'll be honest with you. Most of people like me that we come, and it's always one way. There's kind of like your last resource. It's through your kids, but your kids has to reach to the 21 years old so they can ask you for you. But if you're thinking about it, if you came in America and wait 5 years to have a kid, and then your kid has to turn to 21, it's 26 years. But it's still, like, I look it up, you see, it's two ways to see it. You can complain, 20, 30 years. Yeah, it sounds unfair. But we sign, and somehow we sign up for this. And then, for me, I always look it up in a positive way. It's still one level light at the end of the tunnel. See, and one Hispanic person told me the other day, why you pay taxes if you're never going to see it back? See, that's just a poor mentality to me.
Yeah.
Because I say, see, you're already thinking that you're going to go back. See, nobody builds an empire to when you finish, you knock it down. See, you build that to be successful. So I always put, because I always feel the God, like I talk again about the law of the farmer. If I work hard, eventually this country reward me. And I think it will. I don't know when, but I think it will.
Oh, it will.
It will. And what I see is this. If I got the mentality of a lot of Hispanic people that is wrong, don't pay taxes because you're never going to see it back. It's done, because then your strain is going to go away.
It's short term.
Exactly. So what I do, I pay my taxes every single year that I'm being in the USA. And I try to trust me when I say this in the most fair way that I can. I pay my taxes every year. I was an employer. I was a day worker. I came to be a 1099, and now I have an LLC, and I pay my taxes according with the laws of this country. And because my dream and my American dream, a lot of people think the American dream. Let me give you my opinion on American dream. A lot of people rely American dream with the green card or with the house. You know what's my American dream? My American dream is that my kids, which is the next generation, don't have the life they have. They have a better life.
You've accomplished that.
I did
up
already.
to this day.
Exactly.
I'm sure it'll keep accomplishing more. But
Absolutely. And one of my kids, like she applied for Harvard. She definitely is taking the benefit. Harvard put her in a waiting list, and but she is like one of the best students in the school. She does very well, and I know that wherever she goes, she's going to do very well. And that's just my reward. And not just her, like my other kids, I know they're going to accomplish, but specifically, she's more remarkable. And I can see that just makes me feel that, all right.
That's the
it was
top
worth-
percentage of people that grew up here's dream.
Yes.
Students' dreams to go to Harvard
Yeah.
or one of those schools. That's incredible. You know, that's incredible.
Yeah, but yeah, man, I just want to give the message to like, for example, I would like to give a message to both sides. An immigrant and an American citizen. And as an immigrant, if you are one of the 1,000 people or thousands of people there, let me tell you this, life is not easy here. But if you, for whatever reason you are in this country, number one, learn English, work hard for this country, and eventually something gonna happen. And just trying to do, don't try to come in and demand.
Right.
We already have enough people demanding here. Like we don't need more.
Yeah.
Like let's just stick to those things. But if
The
not,
general basic principles of hard work, a little bit of assimilation if you're here.
yes, and if you understand, you come into your country, you come into this country, and the system say you have to pay taxes. Hey, pay taxes. See, stay and trying to look for people to translate or try to learn English. See, I remember taking lessons in the church, in the Catholic church, taking lessons in the library, and having friends
In the
like
kitchen.
you in the kitchen teaching me. But I got so much hungry to learn, and maybe my English is never going to be perfect.
Your English is very good, man.
It's better, but in reality, it's hard. You know, it is hard. But I never lose that hungry to keep learning, and don't try to learn the whole language. Like learn the basic and have a vocabulary based on your circle. Like if you construct your kitchen or whatever, just learn the words and then extend it up. Now, from the other side, as an American, you like it or not, your father, your grandfather, or somebody like that start just like me. You maybe have the argument that he got a green card, but doesn't even was different in those days. The sun comes out for everybody.
You said something before that I think was pretty awesome. Tell me what an American looks like.
Oh, yes, I remember. I mentioned this to you because one time in one of those channels, the new channels, one of these political guys, one senator actually, say he was against the idea. He trying to propose an idea about if you are a kid from immigrants to lose the idea about to have those rights for the citizen. And he come with this comment that says, it's like if you have a horses and then you put one chicken in the middle of the horses, eventually that chicken is a horse. And I feel so bad for that person. But the first thing I was imagining in my head, I can answer that to him. And I say, see, you saying that because you are saying those things based on physical characteristics. So the chicken, it doesn't look nothing like the horse, and the horse is the chicken. But something cool about America is this, like I asked Chris, if you can define or express me how an American looks, how you will say it?
It's tough.
Physically, it's impossible. See, if you say maybe an Asian person or African person or somebody like that, even in those countries, it's immigrants and stuff. But I even like in Mexico and my times, I never. It was very hard to like knowing people from other countries, only Mexicans. So we like it or no, our communities has characteristics that we can see it. And I don't try to offend anybody, but we have a characteristics every.
That's normal.
It's very normal, okay? But define American like that.
It's hard.
For example, that senator, like I'm not going to mention his name, but you define a horse and a chicken because you can see it, but how you can define American?
Yeah, you can't.
You can. Physically, no. If I can define America, somebody with dreams and goals and hard worker.
They every color, they every shape, they everything.
Everything. And that's the beauty. That is the beauty.
I think that's incredible because I never thought of it that way. You know, you never an American. You know, look around. You know, I see everything all day long.
Yeah.
My clients are everything. You know, it doesn't matter. You can't define that.
No. And also, like a lot of people, like me, for example, like it feels like a little. You feel little because you have an accent, because you have a color. And I invite you and I encourage anybody they love that. Because that is what it makes America great.
Yes.
That is exactly
That's
what
what
it
Donald
makes
Trump
great.
says.
And so learn to love that. See, I make a joke one time in my church. I have something similar to this. And I said, listen, my job is to learn English. If you don't understand my English, that's your problem. But my job is to learn it. I got to have an accent my whole life. My face is not going to change. See, and I mentioned this before to you. At this point, I lived 22 years in Mexico, and I lived 22 years here.
Oh, shit.
Half of my life is divided. And I'll be honest with you, even in my own family, a lot of people look at me like a traitor in Mexico. So I'm not Mexican enough.
But you're not
And I'm
American
never
enough.
going to be American enough for somebody that is American.
Wow.
So how you find your identity? You say the answer before I ask you. And God. See, if you maybe mention, he mentions a lot to God. God is a nation of God. America is a nation of God, I'm sorry.
Whatever God that you believe in.
Exactly. And whatever you believe in, exactly.
But there's a moral compass. There's it's right and wrong, God, religion, atheist, whatever you are, that doesn't matter. But if you believe in the goodness, you know how to act and behave and treat people.
Yeah.
That's the message behind it, I think.
Yes. And we don't try to talk about religion because somebody can say, I'm for different religion. But we all know, like you say, what's right, what's wrong. And I believe, like, even the Bible says in one verse, I don't remember exactly, but it says that we're going to be surprised when we go to heaven because maybe you're going to find somebody that's the opposite of your religion and you're going to find him in heaven. And you're going to say, what happened? We don't know. It's a lot of questions that we're never going to find the answers. So I don't know what kind of faith you have, but if you're trying to do the right thing, it's awesome. I have a friend, I work for bagel shops. They the opposite of my religion. And you know what? They're great people.
Oh, yeah.
They're awesome people. They sometimes, if you forgive me and my religion, but they're even better than a lot of the pastors, They just great people, man. And they don't even kill a fly. They awesome people.
Peaceful people.
Peaceful people with the same kind of values as me.
Just different beliefs.
And you know why? Because the American dream. I believe that's kind of like the engine of this country from the beginning. It's been like that. And if sometimes it gets lost in other generations. But in reality, that's why I don't think we will be smart to block or when they close completely the borders.
Yeah, you can't.
You can.
You can't. You
But
can't do it
even
anyway. But it's
even
not.
if you do it, I don't think it will be smart because that's the heart of this nation. It's just to learn. For example, what we mentioned before, like when we legalized marijuana. I say one day, I work in the army in Mexico. I see from my own eyes like how those things happen and all those things. And I say one day, somebody is making money with the marijuana. And we dumb it because if the government doesn't do the money, somebody else is doing it.
Yeah, somebody else takes it, right?
And I feel that's the same thing with immigration. Somebody is making money with immigration, and it's not the government. So the government should fix it. And like the example that I mentioned before with like maintenance to a car, fix that thing. It's every 10 years, fix a system and fix things that doesn't work. But the reality is it's a system that's broken. If we don't fix it, this thing is just going to get worse and worse, brother.
This was great, Oscar. Gracias a ti por hablar de todos, mi gente.
A lot of you don't know, but Chris speaks very good Spanish.
Some people doubt me, but I can speak Spanish. Yeah. I can remember when I went to Mexico on vacation and I walked around and I would meet Mexicans in Mexico and I spoke Spanish. They'd be like, what the hell is this? Like this gringo, I don't look like I can speak Spanish, I guess. I don't know what that looks like, right? But, I think it's great. And I think wherever you go, you should try to assimilate somewhere, even if it's on vacation. Learn a little bit of the culture. Learn a little bit of where you're going. And it's respectful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can speak that from you. Like, if I never mention this to you, but you never look at me from my color, my skin. You always treat me just like a person.
That's how I was raised.
Yeah, and that was awesome. Like, I mean, if there's anybody in this country that knows me, it's you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to know you, man. I've seen you change and grow. The story you have is like, I don't know if I would have had the strength to do something like that. And, I think it's a positive story. I think there's ways to change what's going on today to make it better for everybody. And I'm grateful to know you and consider you a friend. And I hope that, we could do this again. And I think everybody that's watching probably got a good message from this.
Yep.
That was the point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will love, and I have a lot of expectations to hear questions.
Yeah.
There'll
be questions. They'll post them, and we'll do this again. We'll do this
that'd be
again.
awesome.
Because I think this is a topic that's spoken about in America a lot, and the people who are speaking about it don't know the experience of the reality of it like you do. So who better to speak to? Who better to ask about it? Who better to understand more than somebody who's actually been through this and is still 22 years later trying to work through the system to become legitimate, whatever that means. You know what I mean? So thank you so much.
No problem, brother.
All right, man.